Welcome back, Deadites and Ghost Beaters, and if you're new to the channel, I am Oldhead Gaming, and we are now just a mere 6 weeks away from the 1-year anniversary of Evil Dead, the game. Evil Dead's turning 1, and before that happens, in about 3 weeks, we get the last DLC update, the Who's Your Daddy update, which will bring a new demon, the first since the launch of the game, not including Plaguebringer, who was a free drop during the 2013 update, Ball, and of course Brock Williams, the second leader and second survivor added in Season 2. Now, one thing I want to talk about is probably now the most neglected and undercut class in the entire game has to be Hunters. And everyone knows kind of how I feel about Hunters. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Everyone knows my opinion. I think they're kind of worthless. And I don't play them unless I'm having to meme one night or I have a choose your character night, whatever it might be. I think the class as a whole deserves more love. And let's do a little bit of backstory. So when Hunters were in the betas, as well as the first month of the game, they were pretty fucking awesome. They were really, really good. Like endless stamina, high DPS off of range. I mean, it didn't matter which one of the four you were playing, you had a really, really good time. And the only character that could probably compete with them at that point was Army of Darkness Ash and then the Hunters. Like that was your DPS group. Now, for me, I don't really play Hunters, don't care to play Hunters. I play nothing but leaders and support for the most part. But I would like to see the class get some relevancy again, and when it comes to the DLCs, in the 6 DLCs, they've gotten 0 characters. Now, let's put this in perspective. When the game launched, it was 3 leaders, 3 warriors, 4 hunters, and 3 support. They were the most occupied class in the game. And once the Who's Your Daddy update drops, we're going to have 5 leaders, 4 warriors, still 4 hunters, and 5 support. So they've gone from the most populated to the tied for last. And nothing seems to be going the way of the hunter. And I think it's time they get something cool. Because as we've seen with the latest characters, whether it's Blacksmith or Ruby or most likely Brock, is they've been given really cool kits to reinvent their class. So not only is it boosting that group, but it gives them something very unique just to that character that kind of makes them worth playing. And let's take a look at 5 possible characters who could come in year 2 to make Hunters worth playing. Now I'm gonna go basically Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2. I'm skipping Army of Darkness. I just don't see anything there unless like suddenly we're gonna have the wise man throwing fireballs. Like I don't think they're bringing magic into the game, so there's nothing sitting there that makes sense to me as a ranged character for Army of Darkness. And then of course the last 3 will be from the apparently very popular in Season 2 Ash vs. Evil Dead. So the first character that's going to come up for me would be Shelly. Shelly is Scotty's girlfriend. She showed all the evasive techniques when trying to avoid possessed Cheryl, and probably could have got away. I think she had a really good potential if the demon just burst through the freaking window and possessed her, which was kind of a shortcut. Let's be honest, it sucked for Shelly. Like Shelly had a really good potential. She a little standoffish, a little cold, but that's okay. If you read her in the comics, she's even colder. But I think she shows all that stamina-wise ability to be a really good hunter. Now, we never really saw her with a ranged weapon, but like I feel like it's not really a huge step to put her to a gun. And let's be honest, and this is for all characters, if you can make Ed Getley a hunter, you can make anyone a hunter that has very minimal backstory. Number 2, and this could actually make me main a hunter. That's right, Evil Dead fans. If my boy Jake shows up, I will Bobby Joe the hell out of him because all I want to do is play Jake. Like, I don't know why I have such an odd affinity for this character and how the hell Ed Getley beat him to the game, but I do. I love Jake. I think Jake would be great. I think Jake would be a shotgun master and be a really, really, really good character.
Bobby! Go! Bobby Joe, where are you, girl?
Number 3. Now we're heading to Ash vs. Evil Dead, and the first one makes complete sense, much like what we saw with our good friend Amanda, who's getting 2 skins finally. Yay, Amanda! And the next update, we are going to see a character very similar from the other side, and that would be Sheriff Thomas Emery. And Emery makes sense. He's a sheriff. He's using a revolver the whole time. Like, it's an easy transition to Hunter. But one caveat, I would really like him to have like an ability when his fear gets too high that he just pees himself and it goes away. Like, that would be hilarious. Like, he just pisses away fear. Sheriff Piss Pants, ultimate ability. Go. Make it happen, Saber. Number 4. And that's going to be Season 1, Episode 8 through 10's Samara Weaving's Heather. Now, Heather clearly got the worst end of the conclusion of that season when the house just basically tore a new one through, nails at her, and basically just crunked her up until, you know, Kelly killed her. But, like, let's be honest, the character's introduced basically hiking across the Northeast. That's got to be stamina based. It's a very similar thought process I had, of course, with ED1's Shelly. Would be the same for Heather, and I see that very similar lineage. They both kind of end up the same way. They both lose in the cabin, but they both show like a good amount of stamina and would be able to do those dodges, and I think you can make some pretty unique abilities for both of them. And then the last one for me is kind of cheating, or chetting. How do we want to phrase it?
Pink Fuck is a proprietary mix of liqueurs and spirits garnished with orange rind and nutmeg. Oh, and there's a shit ton of ketamine in it.
And here's the thing. It's going to depend on what version of reality you want to face for chat. So if you watched a show on Starz, and I don't know if it's the same thing on Netflix, but on Starz, at the end of every episode, there was a 3 to 5 minute called Into the World. It was like a little mini documentary, and it would talk about that particular episode. And one of the times in season 2, and they're talking about Chet, and they're talking about his military experience, they basically say flat out, Chet never went to war. He just quotes scenes from the 90s movie Three Kings that was starring Ice Cube and George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg, and that's basically what all his stories are. He's just a stoner who makes shit up and just uses this movie as a template, basically. And that makes me believe emphatically the only place for Chet to be in the game is a support character. But that was never canonized inside the actual series. Like, that's something that was talked about by the writers and directors of the show to give us backstory on who Chet really was. If the game decides, though, that they want to use the military version of Chet, he would make a very good hunter at that point. Would probably galvanize the hunter community, giving them one of the biggest fish still left out in the ocean of the Evil Dead universe that hasn't swam their way into the roster yet. And let's be honest, if Chet is a hunter, you're going to see a huge uptick in hunter plays. Because, like, right now, I could go into pretty much most matches. I don't see a hunter unless it's Ash. Once in a blue moon, someone memes, and that's it. But, like, this is what you can do to save hunters. As much as in every fabric of me says don't do it, I also understand why it would make a lot of sense and probably make a lot of people happy to have a hunter version of Chet rather than a 6th support. Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts below. Do you think I'm barking up the wrong tree and that none of these people would be hunters? Or do you think, hey, I like where Old Head's going with this. I can get behind 1, maybe 5 of the 5? I want to hear your thoughts as always in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and later, mates.